Hydration. Aristotle wrote that living beings are moist and warm. However, old age is dry and cold. With a decline in inner heat and body water, dehydration is difficult to diagnose. Hydration is something most of us don't think about, but it is essential for cellular and brain health. Often, if you notice yourself feeling fatigue, this is the first sign of dehydration. Other symptoms include headaches and nausea. Dehydration is a medical condition, it is not thirst. Thirst is just a symptom that may or may not be present when you are dehydrated. Dehydration is deadly. It is the second leading killer of children on the worldwide, and the eighth leading cause of death among adults over 70. It is also linked to the formation of kidney stones. Common causes are too much heat or exercise because the loss of salt through the sweat, higher altitudes, and illness. Alcohol is also a culprit. It turns off hormones that help us absorb water, so we lose more fluid than normal. Other persons have an increased risk of dehydration even when water is readily available to them because the thirst detector in the brain degrade. Individuals at the greatest risk for dehydration include people with a fever or infections, impaired cognitive status, or impaired renal function, and those who take medications that affect fluid and electrolyte balance. Dehydration results from an imbalance of water, salts, and electrolytes in the blood. Electrolytes include sodium, chloride, potassium, and magnesium. Rehydrating does not mean simply drinking more water because when you are dehydrated, the body can retain the water that you drink, and the water alone doesn't replace any depleted salts and electrolytes. Constipation, as Hippocrates noted, it is the general rule that intestines become sluggish with age. Constipation is one of the most common and annoying problems of aging, affecting 50% of older adults. As we age, the intestinal muscles that help move food alone weaken, and the contractions are not as strong. Often medications taken by older adults cause constipation as a side effect. Many older adults become less physically active, which also increases constipation. It disproportionately affects women, non-whites, people from the lower socio-economic status, and those who suffer from depression. Why in the world in this book on the brain? Clinical observations suggest that constipation interferes with the cognition. Only a small number of studies have explored this, and the result, although preliminary, suggests a connection. In rats, constipation led to changes in gene expression that could in turn affect hemoglobin content, okay, and the capacity of the blood to bring oxygen to neurons in the hippocampus, and the alteration in the cholinergic system of the brain. In humans, an association between chronic constipation and cognitive impairment has been identified. Okay, constipation refers to different problems, difficulty passing stools, and it decreases the frequency of bowel movements. Both can often be treated by increasing consumption of insoluble fibers such as bran, whole grains, and vegetables. Okay, fluids 2 liters per day, and exercise. Particularly exercise that involves gently twisting or bending the abdominal region, as simply taking a good walk can get things moving. Of those fails, laxatives are indicated, and there are two kinds: bulk-forming laxatives and osmotic laxatives. Before just going to the drugstore and buying something over the counter, it's important to understand the difference between the two. Bulk-forming laxatives aren't digestive. Instead, the fiber can contain allows you to retain more fluid. That's why you need to be sure that if you use them, you increase in your consumption of fluids. Another thing can help and can reduce and eliminate need for laxatives is with probiotics. The bacterial balance in the gut can be adversely affected by taking antibiotics, by changes in diet and exercise, by normal process of aging, and by a host of factors we have not yet identified. Lining the inside walls of the larger intestine is a layer of mucus that forms a biofilm and provides a moist, warm environment for the microbiome. The thousands of different species and bacteria in there perform special jobs to keep the entire intestinal community healthy. From there, these bacteria regulate a number of aspects of cellular housekeeping and health throughout the body. The particular assortment of bacteria found in your gut is unique to you, as unique as a fingerprint. It is shaped by genes, culture, and opportunity, including what your parents eat and what you are eating in an infant and a child, and the lifestyle influence of the different diseases and the stressors your body has experienced. The microbiome is important for nutrition, digestion, and the immune system function. The inside of your stomach and large intestine is a highly acidic environment. The bacteria that live there had to evolve adaptation to allow them to survive there, but the reward for them is great access to food and not a lot of consumption for it. The relationship is mutually beneficial to you and them. There is an emerging body of evidence that gut microbiome also affects cognition, behavior, and brain health. This is cutting edge stuff, and the story is still being written. We already know that serotonin is an important neuroregulator of mood, memory, and anxiety. It turns out that 90% of the serotonin in the body resides in the gut, and it is manufactured there by bacteria such as Candida, Streptococcus, Ischemia, and the Enterococcus. Okay, gut bacteria have been linked to mental well-being and depression. People who lack two particular bacteria, Coprococcus and Dilaster, Diarlaster, are more likely to be depressed, and those who have normal levels of them report a higher general quality of life. Coprococcus is associated with dopamine signaling, and it also produces butyrate, a fatty acid. This is important anti-inflammatory agent. Increased inflammation has been linked to depressive symptoms. The gut microbiome can become out of balance, leading to a condition called dysbiosis. The most commonly known cause of dysbiosis is taking prescription antibiotics for an infection. These can kill not just an disease-causing bacteria, but beneficial gut bacteria as well. Dysbiosis can also be brought only by unhealthy lifestyle behaviors such as irregular eating times and high-fat diets. When you're younger, the effects are so subtle we don't notice. When we are older, the effects are debilitating. Misbalance in the microbiome is suspected. to be involved in obesity and a number of diseases, including cancer and Alzheimer's, such as infants being separated from their mothers, can have a lifelong impact on the brain's stress response. Early life stresses can also have an influence on composition of a gut microbiome. That composition is affected by the mother's diet and stress levels, and by travel through the brain canal. Children are delivered via cesarean section show the reduced diversity of their gut microbiome. In animals, stress caused by separation of rhesus monkeys from their mothers changed their microbiota and decreased their bifidobacterium and lactobacillus levels. The full extent of gut-brain interactions is still unknown, but linked to between these interactions and an imbalanced microbiome had been implicated in mental disorders as diverse as autism, schizophrenia, ADHD, bipolar disorder, and multiple sclerosis. A credible, although in a still unconfirmed view, is that an imbalanced microbiome during infancy and childhood can lead to these conditions and diseases later in life, but that does mean the conditions are irreversible. Probiotics conditioned in food and supplements can introduce or reintroduce beneficial bacteria into the gut. These can affect such physical functions as increasing iron absorption, protecting against pesticide absorption, and the distribution of fat around the body. They have been shown to be especially effective treatments for the irritable bowel syndrome, a disease that disproportionately afflicts older adults. Okay.